Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Rafael P. Roman. It's been just a little over a week since Jumaane Williams stepped down from the City Council and was sworn in as New York City's new public advocate. During that time, Williams has weighed in on a number of issues impacting New Yorkers, including the recently unveiled state and city budgets, police reform, and the debate over diversity at the city's elite high schools. Williams, who decisively defeated 16 opponents in a special election to replace Letitia James, now hopes to bring increased powers to the office of the public advocate, which currently has a limited budget and no subpoena power over city agencies. And joining us now to talk about his agenda priorities and to give us his reaction to the new MTA toll and fare hikes is New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams. Public Advocate Williams, thanks for joining us in the program as public advocate. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So you've described yourself as an activist / public official, and that you're going to conduct yourself as the public advocate as an activist. How will that differ from the way that your predecessors carried out their duties in the office?
Well, in terms of the office, I want to make sure we're building on all the good things that predecessors brought to the office. In terms of being an elected official, I've always said that I'm trying to present a different type of elected official, and that's what I sought to do even as a council member, as an activist elected official. Being told that I had to choose between the two, I always said, no, you don't. The best elected officials are activists. And so I sought out whenever necessary and needed to be in the streets, to be protesting, and then bring that information and that energy back to the halls of power to get laws changed and policies changed to meet the needs of the people. And I intend to keep doing that.
So you got arrested when you were city council a couple of times while protesting. You plan to do something like that as public advocate?
So I use all the tools in the toolbox on my belt. That includes civil disobedience. Whenever it's necessary and needed, I plan to do that as well.
All right. You know, Mr. Williams, you gave a very moving acceptance speech after your victory. You broke down in tears when you talked about how you've been in therapy for 3 years, and then you proceeded to tell kids who had experienced some of the things that you experienced growing up that they could overcome because you overcame. Why did you choose that moment to give that message?
I wanted to use that time, and I wasn't sure if I was going to say it or not, but I thought it was important to talk about these issues in a way that destigmatizes what folks are going through. And there was a celebrity recently who said the most difficult words in the language was, please help me. And I think that's important for people to understand that they're not the only ones going through some things, and it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to seek help. And people have no problems talking about going to the dentist, going to the doctor, but for some reason going to get assistance for mental health, just to check up, or therapy is something that many communities see as a stigma. And I want to make sure we started breaking that down.
Well, First Lady Chirlane McCray, she started the initiative Thrive NYC, which has gotten a lot of heat from the media and a lot of heat from the City Council, your colleagues in the City Council, over questions of where the money's going and that there's no way to measure if they've succeeded or not. And Thrive NYC tries to deal with mental health in the city. Do you think the criticism has been fair? And as a public advocate, what would you do to help Thrive NYC?
So before the criticism, I want to make sure that credit is given where credit is due. The First Lady took on an issue and said that this is not being spoken about enough, and I'm going to spearhead it. And for that, we must give credit, and I want to thank her for doing so. These issues are being talked about in circles that hasn't been talked about in a very long time. The criticism, at the same time, there is very real questions that are not being answered, and we should look at where the money's being spent, how it's being spent, making sure that we're spending it effectively. And based on the hearing I was at, we didn't have all those questions answered. That doesn't mean the program is bad. It does mean that we have to adjust where we are with the program and make sure that the funding is being spent appropriately. It's $250 million a year. The public has a right to know where this money is being spent. That doesn't take away from the job that the First Lady believed needed to be addressed, and I think it's starting to be addressed. But I would say I want to make sure that we continue to tease out this discussion. Mental illness is something acute that needs to be addressed, but we shouldn't always mix it up with general mental health, which I think everybody needs to check in once in a while with the general mental health status.
All right, so let's talk about the one issue that I think most New Yorkers would probably consider the most important in their daily life, and that is the declining quality of the subway system, the MTA. You know, we're facing fare hikes and also toll hikes. What's your reaction to those hikes? Do you support them? And what will you do as advocate to fix this system?
Well, I call it hashtag Cuomo's MTA. We just have to be clear about that. Cuomo has an inordinate amount of power and oversight over this agency. It's been clear from the L train to the changes being made whenever is at his whim. But right now, we really kind of need to dismantle the board and do something completely different that has the power spread a little bit more evenly between the city and the state, for sure, because that's not where it is right now. But I don't support the fare hike. I think every time there is some monies needed, we go to the piggy bank of the strap hanger. And that's just not fair, particularly with, we don't even see all of the sets of books to understand how this thing is moving and where the money is going and not going. The governor has wasted money on things that have to do with beautification as opposed to fixing the braking and signal systems. So that's important. I do support the congestion pricing, but I'm very concerned about some of the details. But I don't think we can wait for all of the details before we get the train moving, so to speak. And so I do want to get the train moving and keeping our eye on the ball, particularly this governor. It's about parity. And so people's knee-jerk reaction of saying they don't support it, generally when you ask the question, well, do you drive into Manhattan during rush hour every day to go to work? 97% of the people or more do not. And so it's about parity, where we're getting this funding from. We keep going to the strap hangers. That's not fair. Now, of course, there are people who are disabled, seniors on limited income. We should figure out where the carve-outs are. I don't think that for-hire vehicles should be in this. Those are the ones we should want in that sphere. But we can't keep going to the strap hangers.
All right, let's move on to a different topic. Education in the elite high schools of New York City. The mayor's calling for scrapping what's called the SAT, the entrance exam in essence. You disagree with that, why?
Well, they're kind of holding this up and saying, you know, don't look at anything else. And we have to look at this as an entire system. Those are 8 schools, 3 in particular, which are the big 3. I come from a different kind of angle. I went to Brooklyn Tech. If you had used any other measure, I would not have gotten into that school. If you used grades, I cut my first class in the 8th grade. So anything else, and this is before I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, ADHD, there was no other mechanism that I would have gotten in. So one, maybe we can look at 2 different avenues. Maybe some folks get to do the test, some folks get to do multiple criteria. We don't have to pit communities against each other. But most importantly, what people don't understand is that the multiple criteria selection schools that exist now are not that much more diverse than a specialized high school.
So how do we make it more diverse? Because as we just found out, 7 out of over 800 students in Stuyvesant for the incoming class, only 7 were African Americans. So how do we change that?
When you look at Eleanor Roosevelt, just recently, they had a bias-based incident that occurred, and most of those students are not diverse, just the same, if not worse, than Stuyvesant. And so this is the question that we have to ask. What is going on with our system? Stop pretending that adjusting this 8 schools and leaving the 100 that's selective criteria, or the system as a whole that's not educating these students. The junior high school I went to, a gifted and talented program, is no longer there. These feeder schools are no longer going the way they're supposed to. So it is a larger question that we have to address. And dealing with this issue, the way the mayor has done it is divisive.
Okay, we have less than 30 seconds, and I have to ask you this. For your special election that got you elected, the city spent $15 million for an office that has a budget of $3 million plus. 9% of voters showed up for it. And not only that, now you have to run again in a primary in June and then run again in November. I mean, does it make any sense? As public advocate, can you change that?
Our election laws are arcane. The rules around special elections are stupid, and they waste money. And so what we have to have is a law that doesn't make it so that we have to have 2 elections. You're going to have an election to fill a vacancy. So you have the election, and that's it. There's no reason to have a special election that doesn't fill out the term and then a primary. And now the folks in my old council seat are going through the same thing. They have to have a special election in May and a primary in June.
Yeah.
It has to change.
It's the bizarre world.
Absolutely.
All right, Public Advocate Williams, thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining us
having me.
today, and congratulations.
Thank you.